Hello. As we come to another midweek thought, I'm thinking about time this week. This is not an alarm clock that I use very often. It's one that I sometimes use as a backup to my phone if I need to get up particularly early. And I'm not always used to getting up before 7 o'clock. But see, I'll be using this as an extra alarm clock to get me up and going. And I'm sure maybe some of us have things like this at home, but maybe we don't often use them. And also time is important this week as we think about the clocks going forward on Sunday. And as we begin to worship back in person in church rather than online, we have to remember to be up earlier this Sunday. And even more complex for me is that the main road outside the manse is partially shut. So I have to go the long way round to get to Mainstreet before I come into Alloa. So quite a lot of things to remember this Sunday, and probably a rather early night for me on Saturday. But as we think about time and we think about the clocks going back this Sunday, which means less sleep, I want us to read a few words from James chapter 4. Verses 13 and 14. And in the book of James we read, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there in trade and make profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time, then vanishes." Sometimes that is translated as a vapour rather than a mist. But if we think about that, life is a vapour, life is short, and time is short. And here we've been told about people who make lots and lots of plans. Tomorrow I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go on holiday there, and we're going to do all these wonderful things. And yet we're reminded we do not know what tomorrow will bring. And we're reminded that our life is only here for a small amount of time. Our life is a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Of course, there is our memory and there is our soul and eternity. But ultimately, we are here for a relatively short period of time on earth. And we have to think about how we make the best use of that time. Maybe it's with family and friends. Maybe it's with our work or our studying. Maybe it's being with God and the time that we give to God. We all say that we've got so little time these days, and yet compared to those in the past, we have all got all these energy-saving devices and time-saving devices in our kitchens and our utility rooms. And here, even as this video is recorded on a phone, we imagine what lives would be like even just maybe a few years ago without a smartphone. Yet with all these labour-saving devices and time-saving devices, we are reminded that life is a vapour. And we're reminded in verse 15 is our attitude towards time. It says, instead you ought to say, rather than the plans that we have, instead you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this and do that. As it is, you boast in your own arrogance. All such boasting is evil. So ultimately we have to remember that time is very limited. Our time on earth is limited, and our plans are sometimes boastful. We have to remember, what does the Lord will for our life? What does what Lord want us to do in our relatively short times on earth? And in fact, if we do these things, we consider these things, if we consider what's important, and sometimes we can frustrate ourselves and get all worked up about things that have happened in the past, or people that we don't particularly get along with. But ultimately, life is a vapour, time is short, and we have to make the most of it by looking to see the will of God in our lives. So something for us to think about, and something for us to think about as the clocks change on Sunday as well. Thank you.